So is there any area of your career that you know, more fond of, any particular, or is it always what you're doing currently?
Well, we've had a few pinnacles, haven't we? We've done some amazing things in Marillion, and I forget sometimes, and sometimes I just plain don't remember some of the things we've done. I mean, we did 4 Wembleys. We did a massive stadium tour with, not just with Clutching at Straws, but we did a huge tour, and we did Wembley and stuff with Steve.
Yeah.
People kind of forget that. I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, well they haven't been as successful with Steve Hogarth. You know, serves them right for not being prog enough these days. You know, that's the kind of vibe I get from a lot of prog heads, which I kind of, you know, I guess I accept it. People have their own opinions of music. I know everyone has a favourite album by a band, and it's usually when they were, you know, sort of growing up or something. I do, you know, and but it's not necessarily what you want to hear as a person in a band that's trying to, you know, stay fresh and relative and keep the whole thing together. But you know, we've done some amazing things. We did these huge tours. We've toured with Queen, with Freddie Mercury in the band. That was the last time we toured together with another band, actually. Yeah. Interestingly enough, we're just about to go on tour with Deep Purple.
Wow.
So, and that'll be the first time that we've toured since Queen. But before Queen, we toured with Rush. We've toured with Todd Rundgren as well. So we've toured with some great bands. Yeah, I know. It's been a lot of fun, and we've done some amazing shows. We did. I played to the most people I've ever played to was probably in Rio. Right. We did Rock in Rio and also Sao Paulo. But we also did a show on our own in East Germany and played to getting on for 200,000 people.
It's a good crowd.
It's immense. It's too immense. Actually, you can't really take it all in. It's just like, wow, this is too much. And I remember one of those kind of gigs we were doing. I can't remember which one it was now. It might have been one of the ones with Queen. It was a big festival site, and there was a helicopter giving people rides. And I said, oh yeah, can any chance of me getting away? And of course, you know, I was in the second to headline band, so it's like, yeah, okay. And I remember the guy flying us over the audience, and it just went on for like it went on for a very, very long time, and I was thinking, Jesus. Mm-hmm. But I'm really proud of what we do now, actually.
Yeah. I'm
most proud of the fact that we are still doing it. We're still making great music. I mean, if anybody's not sure whether they want to listen to new Marillion, listen to a song called Neverland, which is on an album called Marbles. Or listen to there's 4 little tracks called Marbles as well. You know, Neverland is such a good song. And there's a great song, it's more of a ballad, this one, but called Fantastic Place, which is, you know, it's a really moving song. Mm-hmm. And again, Happiness is the Road has some great songs. There's a song called Essence, which is fantastic. Very proggy, but quite Beach Boysy, actually. Mm-hmm. It's got influences of pre-prog, you know, psychedelia and what bands were doing before even that happened, you know. We're trying to hark back a little bit to what the Beach Boys were digging into and maybe even what the Who were getting themselves into. And there's another song called Planet Marzipan, which is one of my favourites. It's got a great slapping bass line at the start of it, but it's a 20-minute song, and the second half is just so proggy in a kind of but it's proggy in a kind of Dark Side of the Moon meets Abbey Road way. Right. So it's kind of very English, actually, is the way I would describe it. And you should check it out because there's some good music there. But
so what's in the pipeline after the current Transatlantic tour?
Transatlantic finished touring. I'm working on some music for a film with a good friend of mine up in New York. Right. Marillion are in the middle of doing some writing for the next album, but mainly preparing for festivals in the summer. Right. We're doing...
is that the High Voltage?
High Voltage, thank you very much.
Any plans for a solo album?
No, I do, yes I have, but I haven't, I'm too lazy to get around to it. I've got loads of songs that I've demoed, but I've demoed them in the easiest way possible. So I'd play like a guitar part once and then cut and paste it and cut and paste. Mm-hmm. And that is kind of like word processing for musicians, really. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've plans to do another Keno album, or certainly do an album with John Mitchell, one or the other.
A good project.
I'd like to do another Keno album because I like the fact that Keno was more about the songs, although we were all kind of proggy players. we try to restrain ourselves on the prog side of things.
Yeah.
And I think we managed that to a great degree. Keno toured with Spox, and at the end of the night, it was really nice hearing people whistling one of our tunes, because we just wrote. All we wanted to do was write catchy tunes.
Yeah.
We just wanted to dress it up a bit, but basically it was all about catchy tunes, something that you can hum.
Yeah.
Well, like I'll go back to Fragile. I mean, Fragile is made up of great tunes, simple little tunes, all constructed together in a really complex fashion, to fool you into thinking it's much more complicated.
Yeah. So I'd just like to end with a few quick questions for you.
Come.
Any unfulfilled ambitions?
I think I'd like to write a book, actually.
What type of book?
Well, probably a book about me. I'm not sure whether I'd want to write a book about my life. I've had a pretty fascinating life, though.
Yeah.
Or I'd like to write maybe a book based on my experiences, but not necessarily about me. Maybe fictional, or maybe kind of half fictional. I'm not really sure, but I think it's, loads of people want to buy into the dream and don't understand what it is about musicians that, what makes musicians function and how what their lives are like. People are given half truths and half myths. The myths of bands drinking Jack Daniels all day long and then going on stage and playing a killer gig. That's never going to happen, and it never did. So that is a complete myth, really. People aren't really that stupid or unsober as they make out. That's one of the myths. But I think I would. I think people would be interested in it.
With all your activity, you're sort of pretty busy most of the time. What do you do for relaxation when you're not working?
Oh, well, I'm a family man. So I try and spend a lot of time with my family, my kids. I love football, so I watch a lot of football.
Who's your team?
Well, it's Man United.
Right.
It has to be Man United. It's not because they were the best team in England, although they always have been, in my opinion, and most of the time that's been right. Liverpool had a bit of a dabble, so did Leeds. At the moment it's Chelsea, but I think United will probably win the league because they are winners at heart. But my parents are from Manchester, and my grandfather, on my father's side, was the town clerk of Stretford, and his offices were the town hall overlooking Trafford cricket ground.
Wow.
So my dad used to go up to his father's office and watch cricket and watch Gary Sobers and all those great old bowlers and cricketers. So he had a love of cricket. I have a love of football. He could never understand that. I could never understand trying to sit down for 5 days to watch guys catch a ball. I mean, really, how hard can it be?
In white clothes.
Exactly, yeah. And all that rubbing the ball, I don't know. There's a bit of a public school thing going on there, I'm sure.
Yeah. Is there anyone you would like to work with that you haven't worked with yet?
Oh, God. Well, I have to say Paul McCartney, really, I suppose. I'd love to work with well, there's a load of people, aren't there? There's a load of great musicians. Paul Simon, actually. I have a huge love of Paul Simon and his songwriting. What a craftsman he is, And one of the things that we've tried to do, and I think we're just about there with Marillion now, is craft our music. One of the things that you'll notice over the last few Marillion albums is that the craftsmanship of the songwriting is becoming quite exquisite. We really concentrate on being in the right place for the song, and putting the song first. And that's an art, and it's a discipline that you have to give yourself and remind yourself of. And but we're very lucky. We've worked with some great producers who have tried to guide us in that way.
Yeah.
So bloody hell, Paul Simon. I'd love to work with him. People are wondering, so which prog person would you love to work with? And I don't really know. I don't really see myself. I can't. Well, actually, working with Mike, he's pretty good. And Transatlantic is lovely. I love working with Neil, because Neil is so inspirational, and he just loves what he does so much.
Yeah, that's refreshing to see. Somebody
so inspiring for somebody to be that in love with music, even more so than me. And I kind of think about music 24/7. He manages to squeeze a few more minutes in than I do.
Yeah.
And Roiner, and as well. I can't leave Roiner out. Roiner is so clever. Royner is the guy he'll come up with musical arrangements that, you know, are way, way more ahead and complicated than me. I mean, it really is university, above. It's really master's degree stuff.
So do you get to learn new things from
these
guys?
I've learned loads of stuff from Royner. The simplicity and the construction of every little thing. I mean, that's what we try and do in Marillion, but it's not as complicated music. But when you do that with the kind of intense music that we're coming up with, that's quite special.
I was going to ask about the like bonus disc on the Whirlwind CD. You've got some interesting cover versions on there.
Yeah.
Do you each come with a favourite song, or do you just sit down and say what song you do?
Neil bagged Hogweed, which I probably would have put forward because I love Hogweed. I actually Get 'Em Out by Friday as well is another great song.
Yeah.
What a great, those bass lines and the construction of those songs. Tony Banks, you know, was constructing and writing beautiful keyboard lines and probably you know more. And the organ sounds, the organ sounds and the synths and stuff, it's just sublime. But I actually I came in one day and I picked up the guitar and for some reason America's I Need You came on. And I started listening to it, and you know, that's not such a bad song. So I got in the studio, and as I always will, I picked up the guitar and thought, I wonder if I can remember how that goes. And Mike said, oh, you know what, Mike was there, and I didn't even clock that anyone was there. And Mike said, do you know what, I really love that song. So I Need You became my suggestion, but it wasn't supposed to. I wanted to suggest something way more complicated and proggy. Stand up to the mark of being a prog bass player. I know I keep joking about the prog thing. I'm not really taking the mickey. I mean, I do take prog quite seriously because some of my favourite music is prog. One of my favourite albums of all time is In the Land of Grey and Pink. And actually, if you talk to Steve Hogarth from Marillion, there's an urban myth that Steve Hogarth ruined Marillion and wants us to be a pop band. But certainly around the time of Holidays in Eden, that's what people thought. What they didn't realise, that actually Steve was plugging away for some of the most unpoppy stuff on the album, and we were forced by EMI pretty much to. I mean, we had an A&R man sitting in on the writing sessions, trying to get us to come up with a second K-lead. You know, that's where they were at
that's
the
where
time.
The pressure is. Yeah.
So, and Steve actually, one of his favourite albums is In the Land of Grey and Pink as well. So we've all got our prog credentials intact at Marillion Camp, you know.
Right.
But
well, Pete, I'd like to thank you for the time chatting us today. Wish you every success in the new Transatlantic tour and with Marillion in the future.
Yeah,
thanks for
thank you.
spending time, and I look forward to the gig tonight.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks very much for your time. Pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure.
Good luck with the gigs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.